It was quite a day yesterday when you reflect on it now, because you see in newspapers this morning. I mean, look at the back of the Times this morning. Chelsea's warning we could go bust. I mean, my God. Then you look further into it. A senior Stamford Bridge source: if we aren't allowed to continue operating normally, we will very quickly run into the red. I mean, what have you been hearing?
I mean, obviously the length and breadth of reporting is very diverse. So some of the television reporting I've seen makes me want to put my foot through the TV, but also some of it's been very much on the money. And there is a need, absolute need, an unequivocal need to reconfigure the licensing situation. The licensing situation was cobbled together very quickly. I would imagine the Premier League were involved in it, but it doesn't really reflect the necessity of allowing Chelsea to continue to operate as a business, as an institution, as a living, moving, breathing organisation that has very different dynamics than any other business that would be sanctioned. There are businesses that are being sanctioned left, right and centre. Many years ago, there's a very now deceased famous dictator that has real estate in this country which the government have seized. They've never disposed of and only lease. So there's got to be but that's a piece of real estate. This is a business that's going forward that has hundreds of thousands of people's emotional investment, is a national institution and a countrywide asset. Yeah. So it has to be treated slightly differently. It doesn't have to be sit in a situation where you sanction it and stop it in its steps. You have to maintain, as irrelevant as sport can be at times, there is an element of value to this particular situation. So you have to maintain the sporting integrity.
Value for whom?
For the millions of fans around the world, for the value of the Premier League, for the institution of the national game. We can't have the fact...
but there's a war on, Simon.
We can't have
and
the fact...
it's an illegal war.
We can't have the fact. Yes, absolutely. So Roman Abramovich can't be the beneficiary of any of the transactions that involve Chelsea being able to continue to go forward under the institution of football. And what you need to do, if you've given them a licence to operate, then that licence must reflect the conditions that they operate in. Not the beneficiary being Roman Abramovich of any gate receipts, which, quite frankly, he's got bigger fish to fry than gate receipts.
Sure. So do you think the government should be showing more flexibility towards Chelsea?
I think the first thing they'll do is the initial licence was granted for domestic football. So the next licence that they'll grant, the extension of that licence, will be for travelling to the Champions League games, because the travel arrangements won't be able to be encompassed inside 20,000 quid, because 20,000 quid will get the players to the airport. They've got to go to a foreign country, play in it, and all the nonsense that we know goes with football players.
The knock-on effects are happening all the time, Simon. Yesterday we heard Three, the major sponsor, in talks with Chelsea. What do we know now? Temporarily they've suspended the £40 million deal with the football club. Now we hear, and this surely would be the deal breaker, Nike's 16-year deal worth $900 million in terms of kit sponsorship is under review. Yeah, if they pull from them...
No, I don't think any of these brands are going to pull from them. First of all, Three haven't pulled from them. They've taken sabbatical, which is what I said yesterday that they would do. They will suspend it. They will not want to see Three's imagery all over Chelsea shirts emblazoned across the front and back pages of newspapers around the globe, because that's what you're currently seeing, right? So they'll pull back from it. What will happen is that the government will reach an accord if Roman Abramovich is going to deliver what he said he's going to deliver. And I cannot understand any reason why he wouldn't do it. It's a significant chunk of his wealth, right? He's worth 9 billion quid, and giving up 3 billion quid is not small beer. But he's already said that that's what he's going to do. So the agreement has to be in place to find a mechanism to be able to deliver an outcome, which is a new owner coming in, the transfer of the assets, and a ring fencing around the fact that none of this money goes anywhere near Roman Abramovich or Russia. Yeah. That's easily achievable. But in the short term, what you've got to do is you've got to allow... If you're going to allow Chelsea to operate under licence, then you've got to allow them to operate under licence which is relational to the business that they're in. And that is putting on football matches. I found it gobsmacking that they're making the observation they can't put a football match on for 500 grand. I'm not understanding how their expenses are bigger than 500 grand. I'm sure they'll be able to justify it. Yeah. But they have to be able to operate within the realms of the football pyramid and the football business that they're in. I'm not overly concerned about their ability to trade players and be able to renew Antonio Rudiger's contract. Yeah. I'm more interested in their ability to be able to put games on, put away fans in the game, and be able to square the circle of cup competition so that fans can travel to games, because fans can't be affected by this. The only people that can be affected by this is Roman Abramovich.
Yeah, they are affected by it. They can't buy merchandise.
But that's my point, Jim. Yeah. My point is that you need to ring fence it so they're not.
Yeah. Isn't the solution then for Abramovich simply to give the club away? To give it, it's not really his in ownership, is it? Isn't that the best thing he can do?
Well, it is.
Pass it on to another owner, then, and give maybe £1-2 billion to those war victims from Ukraine.
But that's what he said Mart.
But take it out of his hands, but the new owner does it.
And that's what's going to happen, and that's what's going to be orchestrated. So basically, there's going to be no parallel universe where the government is going to allow a purchaser to transfer their money to Roman Abramovich, and Roman Abramovich, they want to take it on a leap of faith that he'll do what he said he's going to do. What they're trying to do is put a mechanism in place that basically ring-fences Chelsea's ability to be able to play football, protects the asset to some extent, but also enables a sale without the revenue going to Abramovich.
Just a handover.
Now the situation is, can they get Abramovich to agree to this in principle, which he said he's going to do by the very nature of the fact he doesn't want any of the proceeds, or are they going to have to put some mechanism in place, like a compulsory purchase order, that takes some administrative control over Chelsea and executes it through a different vehicle?
Right.
They've passed a bill in government, which is the bill that's enabled Abramovich to be sanctioned. This bill has far-reaching effects, and one of the effects might be the ability for the government to execute ownership over Chelsea and take that control mechanism away from Abramovich. So they don't need Abramovich's permission to sell it.
Right, and Julian Knight, the DCMS, was alluding to that yesterday.
And that's what they're working towards.
But Simon, in terms of flexibility, should the government be more flexible as we approach a break about match tickets, about the club shop?
The Premier League need to grow up and understand the situation and say, right, what we'll do is we'll act as a clearinghouse. We will receive all the proceeds on behalf of Chelsea inside the Premier League. We will not release them to Chelsea in the meantime. What we'll do is we'll hold them in abeyance and allow revenue to be generated for Chelsea that sits on the side, so a new purchaser picks up the benefit of that revenue when the ownership model changes.
Right.
And in the meantime, it allows fans to go into stadiums, it allows cup tournaments to be played, it allows revenue splits to go in the Champions League and in the FA Cup or wherever else Chelsea are playing in. So it allows football to progress in the same way without the beneficiary being Chelsea's cash flow. And
this has to happen quickly because there's players' contracts running out. There's all sorts of issues, Roderick.
But that's the least of all evils. Let's be honest about that. You've got two or three players.
It starts to implode, doesn't it?
But with respect,
the quality of the players
with respect,
disappear.
Martin, Chelsea have had a long time to deal with Antonio Rudiger and to deal with Christensen. They've had 18 months to deal with that situation. They've not dealt with it. So those are issues of
with
going
respect,
forward.
They didn't know that Putin was going to attack Ukraine.
No, but with respect, they've let players go into the last year of their contract, and this it's blown up now. They could have done this 6 months ago.
But the sugar daddy always comes in and offers way more money. So they were in a position they didn't realise they were going to be in.
One thing we always
as
know,
a club,
Martin, is that fans are fans, and fans do what fans do. So Chelsea had fans last night at Carrow Road. Chelsea won 3-1. But some of those fans chanted Abramovich's name during the victory over Norwich. Now, what was that last night? What did we hear? Was that defiance? Was it tribalism? Is it ignorance? Is it arrogance? Is it the whole lot?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.